is we're playing a cut off of the record you're going to be chatting about tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know how much time you have because I know I I know how these things go. I myself have to teach lessons right after this, so stay as long as you can. But like if you got a jet at 11, feel free. I definitely want to talk about this vinyl encounters. It's album encounters, vinyl voices, right? This caffeine needs to kick in.
Yeah. I don't know what it's called. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it was called Vinyl Revival.
Vinyl. See that's that's why you make the big bucks. I definitely would discuss that. But feel free to discuss anything you're working on, anything you got coming up. We're kind of just in virtual land right now, but after this Miles, and I got a track by Yusuf Kamal coming up, we're going to be on the air, where we're just going to kind of discuss that. But feel free to mention anything, because I'll just like shoehorn in discussing that as well.
Awesome.
And then just let me know when you got a jet.
Yeah. I made a list of records that I love too, which was really hard, but I did. And there's 12, and there's a couple painful things that aren't on here, but I'm like I know it's really not that big a deal, but I was like, well, I'm gonna try.
It's not a big. So I had to improvise, and we can discuss that. But so I hope you don't feel this is weird, but I ended up just making kind of a mixtape of like all the stuff that you've worked on. I hope that's not embarrassing. But we can totally discuss the records. I usually just use it to make the playlist, and then we kind of vibe to it. Unless you got a really good story about one of the particular rerecords. And I don't want to press on any of the embarrassing things, because I don't want to, like, that's not this kind of show.
Yeah. No.
What did you come up with? Like, because I had a few guesses where I was just like, all right, I was there's some Coltrane, and I was gonna throw some Tom Petty, but I don't know if I'm in the ballpark.
That's funny. Yeah, no, neither one of those guys are on here.
That's why I didn't try.
That's just it. It's like you start digging, it's like you miss entire, like I just also this morning I was like, wait, there's no hip hop on here.
Right. Yeah.
And I have spent a lot of time in my life listening. You know what I mean? It's just like so weird when you make these lists, and like what just whatever sort of space you're in at the time, or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like depending on the day, something that would be like 3 Foot High and Rising by De La Soul, or Low End Theory by Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah. I mean,
or the entire Tribe discography at that point.
Yeah, and Tribe, the Far Side. I love all the Far Side.
Yes.
Tribe. I love MF Doom, Victor Vaughn. I love, just like stuff I've spent hours of my life with, you know what I mean? Days of my life. Right. Just like, or like, back in the old days when it used to be like, oh, I just left this tape in my car for like 3 months, this it was definitely De La 3 Feet High was just the only music in my car for probably like a whole year at some point, and then like, Stevie Wonder Intervisions or whatever, just constantly listen. Anytime you start your car, it's just back into that. I really miss that stuff with streaming. I love streaming also. I love the randomness of it. But I miss that thing of just like, I actually got a new to me truck a few months ago, and it has this disc changer. And so I got out my Ace Logics, and I'm just like cool. I'll never, just like whatever. It's just super fun because it's that thing where you just start the car and it just go. It's like, time out of mind is just whatever part of time out of mind was stopped when I turned off the car is now, and I love that. I love that about albums, like I love like it's just such a weird, and people still make albums. People aren't listening to albums in the same way, I don't think, but that doesn't, I don't think it'll ever stop. I think, no. And I love it. It's like, oh man, you just get in the zone of this one thing, and and you can really just get so much out of it. It's just crazy. It's fun. So anyways, on my list is, I can send it to you too. I didn't really know if I was supposed to send it to you or not. I was confused.
This was probably miscommunication on my part, because this was a hell of a week. And
I'm at a total loss. I don't think anyone's brain works right now, and
no,
nor should it.
It's just like all that, like every neuron was firing.
Yeah.
And there were several moments last night where I was just like, should we even be talking about this? Like, what? Who wants to listen to me talk? I mean, it's like, yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, and I do love music. It's like I could talk about it forever. But there definitely, this year has just been like a weird look in the mirror, especially someone who, like, primarily their income comes from like working crew on shows, teaching kids how to run their own shows, or going on the road and playing their own. And then it's like, when all this goes, it's like there's climate change, there's all this, and I'm just like, should I even care anymore?
Yeah.
And the answer is yes, because music does bring things together, but I don't think we should be thinking about it in the same way. Or it's just like, also taking a break is fine. Taking a break is fine.
Oh my goodness. I was just talking with a really good friend of mine the other night about that, he's been at it forever also, and it's just like the break. I mean, there's some sort of, weird thing where, because it's art, it's like if we all were like bankers or whatever, or something, I don't know what a banker even is. But at some point, someone in your family or someone close to you would be like, hey, you know what? I think you're a workaholic.
Yes. Oh my God, I was thinking
that your life is out of balance. I think you are obsessively whatever. But because it's art and creativity and music or whatever, that like somehow that's acceptable, but it's like so unhealthy, and part of it is
called it the hamster wheel. I'm called the hamster wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. So somehow, that's it. It's just it. That's it. It's like, it's amazing. I like the break has been incredible, and now I think particularly, in our community, in this community, like the whole, like, I mean, I have some shows coming up, and I haven't told anyone because I don't even know, because I'm just like, well, I'm not gonna go on the already over polluted airwaves of the media and be like, hey dude, come to my show, I want to play music for people, because I think it's really, it is like, I think you're right what you said a minute ago. It's like, no, you shouldn't stop doing these things. No. But clearly how they function, how you promote, how all these things need to be kind of re-looked at, but at the same time, like, we have to continue to try to make a living. Like, I can't, you know what I mean? Like there's like, you can't just quit, like, and maybe some people can, and that's okay. That's not a judgment. That's just I feel like there is a huge benefit to people putting the energy of music out into the world. And like, my brother said something interesting last summer when the uprising stuff was like sort of at its peak. He was just like, man, this is crazy. Like, there's so much bad energy, and there's so much tension, and there's so much, all these other things where he's like, normally think about how many shows are going on, how many people are like putting out some energy for people to have, and then all that stopped, and then it's like, whatever. And of course it's just a very natural, like, as out as that all was, it seems very natural also. Like, it's like, no, we can't, people, the Black community cannot be treated like this forever in our community and have it be okay and all that shit. Like, this just like needs to change. So it's good, it's healthy, it is, like, in the long run, but it's like, so these little moments and the little days and hours that pass by that seem so obtuse, where you're just like yesterday. I mean, I went to the co-op at like 7 p.m. yesterday after like kind of settled. Like we watched the verdict and we sat and we talked, for a while. And then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go get some groceries. And I'm a St. Paul person. And so like I drove to the co-op and I saw maybe 5 cars, and I went to the co-op and there was like one other customer.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was like, this place just like actually calmed down for, a little bit. And it's not, and again, like, as we all know, this is not, everything's better now. That's not what's going on. But it's like there was a moment of calm. Yeah.
Yeah, there was like it's and because it's definitely not better, but I think there was a collective unclenching of the jaw. Like I went on a walk, usually most mornings, and like yesterday morning, even at 6 a.m., you could cut the tension through a knife. And even like during the day, like it's almost, you could feel the collective eyes from all over the globe, just like, hey, what are you guys gonna do? What's gonna happen? And then so like I think we, like, this morning, it's like you said, it's not magically better, but there was like this whole collective, like, even the trees felt calmer. Like the neighborhood was like a little bit like, all right, but now it's like, well, let's get to work, because a huge thing is like, what kind of community and what kind of music community are we going to like create and curate if not everyone can participate?
Yeah.
And I think as someone who kind of like likes getting their little claws on everything, and I love stuff from all different genres, like what about all the other kids like that who are just like, well, I like hip hop and I like musical theater. I don't think I should have to change. Like I feel like we should all be able to come to the table, and that's the main talking point. Is not all of us have been allowed to come to the table, but it's a step in the right direction. And I think I think like post-pandemic too, there's going to be like a roaring 20s vibe of like, people are going to want to gather. Like I was at George Floyd Square, like you could tell people were like, oh my God, like it's finally we can gather. Like people, there was definitely people who were like, were not wearing masks, but they had I had my shot sticker, like, hey, we're like, it's just like, so I can already feel that energy coming up too.
Yeah.
But I agree. It definitely is just like, this is good, but this ain't over. And at the same time, it's just like, well, maybe, like it's funny that you mentioned it, because like I was talking to some other people who were like, I'm thinking of starting a live stream series, and I'm just like, I'm working on mine too, and now I'm just like, you know what, I'm not doing that yet. I'm not, that can wait. It honestly can, because who cares?
Yeah. Right. Well, it's almost like, I mean, I guess kind of where I'm getting to is like, where I'm just sort of like, well, I want to play music with my friends. Yes, and I want to put out the vibes. And so it's like, okay, fine. So maybe I do have some shows, and maybe there's one tonight, and maybe there's one next week, and maybe there's one 2 weeks, and maybe I'm just not telling anyone. I don't really care, like it's not about, if people have gone and found out about it or whatever, it's like up on websites at venues, places, whatever. It's like, that's cool. And am I really doing it right now as a way to be like, oh, I need to make a bunch of money off this gig? Like, I mean, and that's a whole nother, I mean, I have like such a huge amount of things to say about this community and the financial lacking of this music community here, and like how, I feel like it's a huge contributor to a lot of the other dramas that erupt from this community, is that there is no money anywhere. There's nothing. There's no way. There's no ladder to climb. The big, huge club place doesn't really pay anyone. The the big fancy radio station doesn't really pay anyone. There's no, like, how are you gonna make a living here? I've been doing it for a long time, and I do it. A lot of times I do it with music that, no one cares about anymore, jazz music or what, like feel that, where it's like, anyways, speaking
of stand by, we're about to, this track's going to fade out in 10 seconds, and then we're going to talk about some jazz.
Okay, cool.
Here we go. All right, stand by. All right, so that's one of my favorite new jazz records to listen to. Yusef Kamal. That is a track called "Strings of Light." And before that, we heard a track off of We Want Miles, Fat Time. And so I wanted to play that because I'm here with JT Bates. If you're just tuning in, this is Desert Islands, the show where I make mixtapes for my guests. And I'm making one for JT Bates today. And JT, you're doing this cool event with the Hennepin County Library where you get to chat about well, how did you get involved with this Miles record? Because this has been like a residency program that they've been doing. And I think it's really cool. So how did you get involved with this Miles record?
Well, it's funny. When they contacted me, I grew up in Hopkins, so just in the western burbs over there, and I spent a lot of time. My mom just took us to the library a lot, like we go to the library, once every couple of weeks or whatever, and check out books, of course. And then, I grew up in a musical household. My dad was a band director and a musician. And so there was already a lot of vinyl at my house when I was a kid. So my dad had a good record collection, but my brothers and I realized oh my goodness, look at it used to be like you go to the Southdale library.
Yeah.
And the vinyl section was enormous. So this had been like in the 80s, right? Like during all through the 80s, I would go there, I guess. So we would, just digging for vinyl, just like people just as always happened, right? But you could do it at the library and it's free. So, and back then it's like if you're going to, if you're going to buy a record without having heard it, you're spending like on vinyl back then, like $16 to $20, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm 11. I don't have, I don't have any money. And like, you know what I mean? And so like, if I did, I was like spending on my bike or whatever, but so the library was this amazing thing where you could dig for vinyl. And so I found, when the library contacted me, Jesse Sawyer, who kind of heads up this vinyl revival program, he contacted me and he was like, hey, yeah. And I just immediately thought of We Want Miles because it's a record that I had heard Miles Davis. Of course, I grew up, my dad was a trumpet player, I knew the name. Right. But there's this cover, this is like all yellow and it's just amazing. So, it's like part of vinyl, right? You're just like, whoa, what's this?
Yes. The artifact.
Yeah. And so I took that record home and it just really got into me and like, just really, I didn't know anything about it at the time. I didn't know, you're like a pre-teen, teen, whatever. You don't understand like the history of Miles Davis or none of that. I just was like, this is amazing. Like these vibes are really cool. There's like a dubby element. There's like it's funk, but it's not like organized funk, which I'm not a big fan of personally. Like, and like I like New Orleans funk. I'm not like I'm like the other end of the river from here as far as how I like my funk to go. And so that whatever, it just immediately got in how open it is, and but it's rough around the edges. It's a little mean. It's not, it's not nice jazz, whatever. And so that was just the first record I thought of when Jesse asked me to do the thing, So, so that's how that came about.
So this is Thursday, and I actually played a cut from the bonus track version because I didn't want to give away too many secrets for people who want to check it out and actually listen along to this record. Cool. So that's kind of like a B-side version, but like, oh man, it's so killer. And you're absolutely right. So this event, I actually played Fat Time.
Cool. Yeah.
Yep.
Which I never heard until like a couple years ago because they put that remaster out.
Yeah. Which is that second disc on the remaster. There's some cool stuff on there. And I don't even know. I don't even know if that stuff's going to come up at this event. So this is tomorrow. Yeah, this is tomorrow at
tomorrow evening at like 7:45, I think, or something.
Perfect. All right. So this is if you're just tuning in, this is Desert Islands, show where I make mixtapes for my guests, and I'm making one for JT Bates today. And I hope you don't feel this is weird. I'm actually making a mixtape because like you're one of those musicians in town where I feel like if I'm like, who's playing tonight? And I have no idea what the band is, it's like, oh, JT's on drums. They're probably going to be good. Like, you span so many different genres. I just wanted to give the drummer some and actually play. And I'm trying to get as many different genres of you've been featured as possible. So if you're just tuning in, that mixtape is going to be posted on our website and the social medias and all those fun things. But we're going to get to a track with Michael Stipe here in a second, but first we're going to listen to our friends in the underwriting department here at KFAI.
Yes, of course.
All right, cool. Thank you for doing this. By the way, I have no idea how long you can stay. Feel free to.
For a while, for sure. Yeah.
Let's see. I got to play 2 of these things, and then I actually wanted to ask you about something because I discovered this record you did with Dylan Now and Kevin Gastonway. I went to school with Kevin, man. That dude is one of the nicest dudes ever.
Yeah.
And man, can he play. Oh.
Awesome. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's awesome. I love that record. I wish that everyone in the whole world could listen to that record. Like, Dylan, you just put it out and it's just like no one, I know you know this. It's like it so often feels like you put something out and it just, 2 people hear it or something, but people do like that record. And I hope that it gets,
I had no idea because my timeline is coming out, and this happened with like a few guests last year where like I reached out to like High on Stress. I was like, fellas, this record sounds great. When's it coming out? They're like, that came out 4 months ago. It's like, so I had no idea because Kevin's always working on new stuff, and I saw it was like, oh, I had like, I checked it out. I was torn between so many different arrangements. I went with Eastbound and Down because it's just like, so who worked on arrangements? Like, was this all y'all together?
Yeah, so Dylan has a studio. He's in a band called Apollo Cobra too. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, so Dylan, I've known Dylan for years, and he's a great dude, and he's a great engineer. So he's got a studio up in the burbs, and we've all been working there off and on over the last couple of years more, and just doing stuff, whatever session stuff, and so. One day he texted me and he said, hey, I just wanted to like do this organ record with you and Kevin. And I was like, Kevin's one of my faves and we play a lot, as much together as we can. And, and so of course we're just like, oh man, absolutely. Cause Dylan, is a great musician, but he's like a lot of times just kind of behind the board and doing that side of things. So I love it when people want to step out and be like, hey, no, like people don't even know I can do this. Like they think I'm a keyboard player in a funk band or whatever, And so, so he originally, when he hit us up, he was like, I'll try to write some tunes. And, it's kind of how it goes in the jazz thing a lot. It's like, oh, I wrote a few tunes. Maybe we'll do a couple covers or do, a couple standards or whatever.
Yeah.
And so, but as it got closer, he was like, I kind of had this other idea. And I love it. I just love it so much.
It's such a good idea. Because like I love the idea of taking just rearranging things that like you already like and finding a way to be like, whoa, this is actually fun. Like I just love the feel of like there's still some country picking in there with the original arrangements, but it's just like man.
Yeah.
So did you do this virtually? Because this came out like this year. Were you just like sending tracks?
We did it at Dylan's. He has almost everything I've done this year has been just me by myself in my little studio, doing a lot of that. But Dylan has a real studio with multiple rooms. Yeah. And so he put Kevin in one room and I was in a totally different room, and Dylan was in the control room just playing his guitar and running the computer from there. And so we were all separated the whole time. So
that's easy.
Yeah, of course. Great. And we actually he had everyone bring their laptops, and we actually like did a Zoom call for the whole time too, so that we could see each other. So you could I could look over at my computer and and see Kevin or see Dylan or whatever. But I mean, one thing that I love about that's COVID has brought about to me is like, like in the studio, everyone's always like, oh, I got to be able to see. I'm like, well, sure, there's a visual element, but like at the end of the day, we're listening. So if I can't get this done with these things, then I'm not. Then I probably have some other things to look at, like, and some other things to work on, like I just think it's like it's an auditory oral thing that's happening, and if I can tell where Kevin's going in a solo, I that's my ears, not my eyes, and of course I love to. It's fun to watch people perform and watch people get into a song of whatever kind, anything, but it's not necessary, but anyway, but it was great. It was really fun because there's just been a handful of that stuff this year where it's like, oh, you can actually do this here where everyone can be here, we can be separate, but actually play together at the same moment, and to make a jazz record. I mean, you would not want to make a jazz record virtually, it just would not be a whole record, like maybe doing a tune or something. That's cool. But
I always feel like, especially, I feel like all music, I think this is just me. Well, clearly I always do weird stunts of like this, but like, I just feel like music sounds better live, and if the musicians can kind of mix themselves and I understand, like we're in an era of perfect music where it's just like, things are still going to get chopped to high heaven anyway, but like I still kind of have that weird thing where it's just like, just let me do a full take and you can take out what you hate. Like, there's like that weird itch of like,
absolutely,
even voiceover stuff. I feel like if I don't read the whole paragraph, I'm just going to edit it to death. And so like, even like just a one-off like vocal harmony, or like I'm adding guitar to someone's thing, like I just, it's this neurotic thing where it's like, even if I hate that take, I need to finish the take.
I don't think that's neurotic at all. My term for that is when I get on a session, and so because it's been going on, it's been moving this way for years. Like you've seen it. It's like it used to be you go to a session, it's like, oh man, you got to know the tune, or there's charts, and you really got to perform. You just really got to perform, and you can't. And it used to be based in this whole thing of like, there was the goal as like for someone like me as a session drummer, it's like, how long can I go? How many months can I go without making a mistake? Like how many days, it's like, that's what I'm trying to do. If you're really making records like, to tape, like for real tape, like back in the day, whatever. But now, so what I say to, and I've definitely, I occasionally will make a comment to someone because like, the whole thing of like, oh yeah, so well, okay, yeah, great, we're glad you guys are here, and then so the artist person is gonna we'll just do like a take, and then we'll just have that scratch vocal, and then we'll just you guys can cut to that or whatever, and so then to me that's like, then I'm like, oh cool, so we're setting out for mediocrity, we're setting out for like we've set our sails for like, oh, whatever, we can just whatever, So my thing when I get to produce people is like, okay, no, we're going to try to make music all day and all night long. And if something, I also love the computer. I also have been involved in a lot of projects where I'm not expecting anything I played to be linearly represented later. And I love that. I love it. I love the idea that like I can improvise and someone can take what they want and do whatever they want with it. I think it's really cool. So I try to embrace both sides of it and be like, but setting out to not make music is really messed up to me. It's just like, well, why did I ever try to get good then? Like, so I can hit drum a couple times and we can throw it on the grid and great, cool. Okay, singer, you're going to do this all later. It's just like this whole thing of like putting off, and like, I feel like it's coming around more. People are talking more about it, like committing to something from the get-go. Like, let's commit to this drum sound. Let's commit to this thing. Let's commit to this vocal take, and let's really just try and make music, because that's what you, like you said, it's like you love to see live music. Like that's what that is. It's just in a moment, and that's everyone together, working together, hopefully, and reacting, and that's what you feel.
It just feels different too. And in today's era of like AI music, like I think AI music is cool, but like because it makes music made by humans that much cooler. And because of that, I think you should have some sort of life or some flaws or some sort of situational thing. Oh, speaking of situational thing, we're going to come out of here and I'm going to read a thing here. So stand by.
Yep.
Okay, so it is the top of the hour encroaching, so I'm going to lead us into the local list here. So that I just want to back announce that set. We had Michael Stipe with Big Red Machine, and we also had Taylor Swift in that set, just because I wanted to see if I could find a track that would work with that transition. Today, let's talk about some events we are streaming this week and beyond. Today, we have Built to Last, All-Stars streaming from the Caboose. We got members from Frogleg, The Big Woo, and a few other bands. It's a rotating cast of characters, but it streams every Wednesday from the Caboose there. We also have Greg Harridge's, Paul Metzger, and Brian Brugioni. House of Balls. This is the Beyond series, and this is going to be cool to check out if you are inclined. That starts at 7 p.m. tonight. Of course, Dakota Dave Hole has been doing his concerts. We have Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. So tomorrow at 10 a.m., Dakota Dave Hole is going to be streaming. We also have the Vinyl Revival album Encounters. JT, when does that begin again? Is that 7 or 6?
I'm just trying to look that up. So
we'll double back on it, and I'll just finish here.
Yeah, I'll get that info.
Friday, Mini-Hawk's 4th anniversary. This is at Part Wolf, socially distanced. DJ Nanobite, Student 1, Solana, RZ Shahid. That is at Part Wolf this Friday. Also this Friday, the String Dingers and White Iron Band in the Caboose parking lot. That is also Friday. Sunday, 10,000 Reasons CD release stream, the Tommy Bentz Band. They're going to go live at 1 p.m. Galen Lee at 2 p.m. She's going to continue her live stream series. Also Sunday, Billy McLaughlin and Simple Gifts. Last week, they were live streaming with Turn, Turn, Turn. This week, it's going to be Annie Mac. So that's going to be 4:30 this Sunday. Looking ahead, Javier Trejo goes live Terminal Tuesdays, streaming from the Terminal Bar every Tuesday. Eli Gardner is streaming Tuesdays. Sarah Morris streams every Tuesday. And Terry Walsh streams every Tuesday for Foothold Twin Cities. Think I missed something, or you just want to hear me mispronounce your band name on the air, email it to desertislandskfai@gmail.com. That is desertislandskfai@gmail.com. Blame it on the ADD. Okay, so that event is 7 p.m. For tomorrow.
Yes, 7 p.m. 7 to 8:30 is the vibe.
So if you were just tuning in, you might not have heard our conversation about the record I'm about to play. Is this your okay? So this is with let's actually talk about this on the air. Dylan Now, you're on drums, and Kevin Gastonway. So this record came out in 2021. Is this your most recent project, or do you have more stuff coming out in the back burner?
Oh man, I've played on so much stuff this year. I was actually just talking with a friend about that. It's like there's been so much stuff coming down my work channel. But a lot of it just hasn't come out yet. So, which whatever.
I don't want to give stuff away either, because I know how busy you are, and even the last track you were on, did you do that at Holly Hansen's studio? Wasn't that like a secret production with the Taylor Swift thing? Like, was that? Did you even do you even know how many things and who you're going to be on most of the time at this point?
I don't. It actually gets into that weird zone these days. It's just pretty cool, but it's also odd, So Aaron Desner, who produced those wonderful records and the Big Red stuff, and has just really brought me in on a lot of cool music in the last few years, and so what happened was he started working on those records last pretty common. Pretty soon after COVID started, like the shutdown, you know, she hit him up, and like they had a little bit of, you know, previous, like whatever, but they didn't really know each other, you know, like, but it was known that she was a fan of the National, and so you know, anyway, so that wasn't, I don't think it, like retrospect, it was like not too super duper surprising. Like I know that
it makes sense
of Aaron's songs and his production, you know, and he's a prolific, amazing, you know, I mean, he's truly just constantly making things. It's actually pretty mind-boggling how hard he works. And so anyways, so he started sending me this stuff, and they were like, okay, you gotta sign this thing that says,
of course,
an NDA or whatever, which happens, you know, definitely happens. Like when you just get on a big session, you're just not supposed to talk about it. You know, makes sense, you know, but anyways, and so it was so highly NDA that Aaron and his manager Brandon, who was kind of my real go-between on the whole thing, they were like, we can't, and totally not kidding, like they were like, we cannot tell you who this is. We will get in trouble, whatever. So just play on the stuff, send us stuff, whatever. And so that's how it happened. And then Folklore came out, and then you know, people were freaking out, and then within like a few weeks of that, Aaron sent like kind of another batch of stuff. And so you could just, you know, again, NDA, all that stuff, but it was just sort of like, oh, I think this might be just more, you know? But you know, you don't know. And then if you want to keep your gig, you don't ask probably about that. You know?
Exactly.
Oh, there's a shaker. I heard a shaker on this one, you know, whatever. And so, you know, and really interesting process, and really, you know, whatever. And so then, and then you really don't hear, you know, on something on that level. Like a lot of times I will get later on, I'll get to hear something before it really is released, you know, like someone will share, you know, people like Aaron, Justin, like people that who are my friends also, who will be like, hey, we're, you know, we got the masters back. Here's the thing, you know, check it out, whatever. But that stuff, like I just didn't hear
until it was into,
and you don't know, you don't know even which tracks you're on, because also part of the way that Aaron works is like there was stuff that, you know, is maybe it's going to be for this thing, and maybe it's going to be for this other thing, and then you hear that record and you're like, wait, didn't we do that for, you know, it's like because of the way he works, and because he really does have all these things, and it's cool. I think it's a really cool modern way of how he deals. He's constantly writing songs, and then he shares them with people, and if a lyricist or vocalist is drawn to something, then he is like, great, let's do this, you know. And so it's like it's a cool way to like have these songs find their person, you know.
It really is.
It's a different way of doing it. So so all that stuff I didn't know, you know. But yes, I had 100%. So even rewind from there, I you know, by sort of April of last spring, I was like, I've always had a little recording rig. I live in my family and I have a condo in St. Paul. That's where we live. And so I have a little room in there where I used to do some little bits of recording for people. But then our 16-year-old was then going to high school in her room. And so
virtually,
you know, so then I was like, well, I can't play drums, and it just, you know, drums, and it's no one wants a drummer in their house. Let's be honest. Anyways, so we go, you know, people are like, you know, you can basement would be nice for you, you know.
Yeah, that's a great place for that.
There's no windows, it smells funny. You should go down there, you know.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so I started trying to find somewhere to go, you know, to be or whatever. And Holly, who's a friend and a favorite creative person and awesome human, she was like, hey, you know, I have this studio and I'm not tracking bands right now, and I have all this space, and this could really work out great. And so it has, and I'm still there, and it has continued to be just really awesome. And we've gotten to work on some stuff together, Holly and I, which is really fun. We just did that Nikki Beverly record that just came out.
Oh, the Bev record, yeah. Well, and I'll be talking to her in May. So
so you know, so it's just been really a great vibe, and Holly's been just super awesome and super, as she is, just like welcoming and great. And so so essentially she has her mix room and I'm in the live room. And I just have brought my rig to there, and then it's kind of turned into, now we have some other friends across the hall, and there's just like a lot of creative stuff going on there now, and it's just it's a good fit, and it's been really good for all of us to have that space during this, somewhere you can go and feel safe, and everyone kind of has their own room, but we can connect the rooms and we can still play, do stuff together, So the huge shout out to Holly. That she's
she's another one of those creatives, I feel like, in town where it's like, I didn't know she was in that, but it's probably pretty good. Like anything she usually does is like what I'm all about, and I hope T comes back, because that was a nice ritual, calming ritual for me.
Yeah. And Holly's been on with you, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We had a chat. I can't tell if it was a few months ago or a year ago at this point.
It's all good.
But yeah, so before we get to this track with Kevin and Dylan, do you have anything you are actually allowed to talk about coming up, since we did the local release spotlight? And by the way, we're going to get into some new records from Dosh at the local release spotlight as well. But we're also going to have this tune coming up. But anything that you can't give away trade secrets, or you're at liberty to talk about?
Well, I did play a bunch on the Dosh record, and I'm really excited about it. And we did that, like we would do different people. Yeah, I mean, most of it I tracked, actually, instead of tracking it at my place, I tracked it in his backyard.
Oh, so that's awesome.
We would run some mics out to the deck, and then we'd show up, and like Joey Phillips did that too, and a bunch of us, tons of us are on the record, as Marty is always amazing that way, including so many people. And so that was a fun thing last summer of like, sitting out on the deck and tracking on Marty's record. And then I don't know, what else am I doing? I just well, you mentioned White Iron Band and the shows coming up. I've been working on, I don't know when stuff's going to come out, but I've been working on over the year a bunch of different stuff with Matt Putis from White Iron.
Yeah.
Really fun. Some virtual stuff and some in-person stuff, actually. And so I don't know what his plans are for releasing and stuff and whatever, but I know that's in the works. And then I have what else? Like I put out a record that I produced and engineered. We put it out like a little while ago. It's called Doppler Gang. It's like myself and John Davis and Jake Baldwin. And that's something I've been really proud of and excited about. And I really like that music, and was really fun for me to get to kind of see a whole project through on that, from playing on it, but also getting to do the chopping and all that production side of it too. So that's been fun. And then there's tons of stuff that I've been working on with different people, with Alpha Consumer folks, and with my friend Alex Proctor. We've been working on a lot of music together.
Oh, nice.
Of his music, and then some fun stuff remotely that's going on right now that just is kind of will see the light of day at some point, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to, it's like people are really creative in some weeks, and some weeks they're not, and so I think people are just kind of like, and it's kind of cool. It's like people are just like, well, let's work on this, and there isn't really like an end date or a deadline or anything. It's like, well, it's just, I'm doing this stuff right now. Let's try to get something going here, and
where the energy is.
Yeah, and then there's starting to be like, I have a couple of fun in-person sessions coming up now that I've got one shot, and I'm getting my other one in a few days. And then the other thing I think I'm probably most excited about is like we did do during the year, we traveled and got tested a lot, and we did an Anais Mitchell record, and then
nice.
And then also this summer we're gonna do a new Bonnie Lynn Horseman record, which I'm really excited about. So that group of people it's just a really good, so I love that record and really proud of it, and so I'm excited to see what the next one of those looks like. So that's definitely some stuff that I have coming up. And then as far as around here, like I'm just like, I'm playing some shows. And like I said, I guess that was off camera or whatever, but I think all of us, especially myself being just a white dude, it's just like yeah, okay, man, there's it's not. And so like I said to you off camera, like I want to play music. I want to put some energy in the world. Like it's really important to me. It's a big part of how I've connected with the world for my whole life, and helped me figure out how to be a person, and way better at making sound than I'm at talking, and and so it's really important to me. But I'm not really going out of my way to draw any attention to that or take any attention away from the real matters at hand and that are so deeply happening in our community right now. And so but I like we both said, it's like I don't think it's okay to be like, no, I'm just not gonna play at all, man. Like that doesn't feel good to me. That doesn't feel like I can participate on a activism level, and I can participate by donating, and I can participate by learning and reading, and I can also participate by putting good energy into the world, and it's something that I have, and I know that it affects people's days when it's a weird, I don't mean this from an ego point at all, but just for after 30 years of sitting behind a drum set and having someone come up and be like, man, it's really like that. Just, you sort of changed my day today by seeing you back there smiling, trying to work something out on the drums. It's like, whatever that is valuable. And it is, if somebody needs it, then I want to give it to them, and then, there's the whole other aspect of getting back to performing in hopes that we can get our whole entire, every single part of the music community back to making a little money. And maybe, hopefully, I'm hoping after a year and a half of no live shows that maybe some of our neighbors will start to really understand the value of, giving your neighbor $10 to see their music performance, and how that these small amounts of what seems like small amounts of money are really huge for a lot of artists, and it just I just hope and pray that that's somehow at least some percentage of music fans are just are cool with oh, maybe shows are a little more expensive now. Maybe I really missed this. Maybe if you really break down that 3 bands played for $10 and you really do the math of that, and rehearsals and people buying gear and driving all over the place and doing all this stuff, that's that giving someone $11 for a ton of work it's just not cool. It's just people work hard, they pour their hearts and souls into this, and of course there's the whole thing well, I would play music for free, and I totally get that, but I've tried doing a lot of other jobs and I was really bad at them, and this is my job, so I need money. And a lot of other people do too, and they should be paid for what they're doing and how hard they work, no matter what it is or what kind of person they is or what kind of music it is. I don't care about any of that. I believe that everyone should get paid more, and all shows should cost more, and that people shouldn't be, it's oh cool, you'll pay $200, $300 to see some person from the the outside world, but you won't pay $10 or $15 to see your neighbors. It's weird.
And by the way, our neighbors are some of the most supremely talented people I've ever seen. Everybody in this scene is wickedly talented, and I dig being able to genre hop and see a wonderful show because of that. And here. I love everything you're saying. Let's get into this Eastbound and Down thing, because I just checked the time, and I don't want to heat you. JT, thank you so much for coming on.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm good.
Okay, cool. If you're playing at home, we're still streaming. Please don't watch your phone while you're driving. It'll be on our website. It's fine.
Wait, you're not supposed to do
that? Well, I allegedly. Here's a track, Eastbound and Down, here on KFAI. All right, I gotta type the metadata on this one. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, like how every other industry, like that's actually like, yeah, cost of living, I get it. But for some reason, entertainment, it's still like, it costs. How, can I get a guest list or? It's like, no, not this time. Come on, people. Just like it was gone for a whole year. You can't even pay the $5.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. I mean, I've been trying to actively, one thing that I like, I was just like blabbering on my Insta story one day about all this, also because, I mean, it is a social issue, but it's definitely just like way down the rung of, I had hoped last spring, before the Floyd murder and all that stuff, that I was like, oh, maybe this is a chance for musicians of all kinds to be like, hey, we're not doing this anymore for shit money or whatever. It's like, no, we're just done with that. But obviously way more important issues came up and have remained paramount.
Well, it's like a coral reef,
that's fine, but it's just like I just hope there's some little space. And again, like I'm this as just like a white dude. I'm just like, oh boy, just shut up, JT or whatever. But it's not about me. It's about every single person that makes music. I think that we constantly are undervalued. I think we undervalue ourselves. I think that people aren't. And so anyway, so in my little Insta story thing, the best part I came up with was that I think was the best thing that I came up with was like, be proud enough to say no.
Yeah.
Be proud enough to be like, no, I'm not doing that,
Yeah.
And be proud enough to say, like, we're not on the air right now, right? We're off it.
No, we're on the.
So I would take that a little step further and say, like, be proud enough to say, no, First Ave, I'm not taking this gig. This sucks. You people should pay us more money. Like you pay Wilco, $150,000 for a night for 3 nights. And then you're still going to try to get someone from here to open for that for $200-$300. Like
it's honestly,
there's a lot of money changing hands, and you're not giving any of it to your community, and they do it.
It's honestly why I started doing the solo act thing, where it's just like you get a drum, you get a guitar, and you sing, and my buddy Mike Munson does the same thing. Like it's just one of those things where like being in and also like I'm in my 30s now. Let's be real. Like the DIY thing, I love it. I did it my whole the folk punk way. That's how I did it. Like I started a failed record label, did that whole thing, got on a record label, got dropped by a label. Like I've it's like the DC song, man. You're bought, you're sold, it does get to a point where it's just like, hey, realistically, that $200 is probably going to be the same in a lot of clubs everywhere. So I'm just going to show up and be one person taking that $200.
Right. You mean so you can actually afford to buy yourself a bed to sleep in for the night and a meal, and then still actually make $100 barely. It's like, I mean, I didn't put it up on the Insta, like in my saved Insta stories is the like there's a few slides where I was typing about that, and I got farther into it and deleted this one, but like I actually started to like break down the math, because people seem to actually paying attention to that for the first time, and that I can tell in my 46 years on the planet, people are actually paying attention to this sort of stuff. Like what I said earlier, it's like, if there's a 3-band bill and you and I have a trio with Kevin, and then one of the other bands has 4 people, and then one of the other bands has 3 or 4 people, and you start doing the math of like hours of rehearsal, investment in gear. How much money have you fucking spent on gear in your life?
It's ridiculous. Well, right? It's like,
if you break that all down and someone's paying $10 to see those 3 bands at the entry, and that means one person is paying each person in the band. There's already more than 10 people. So it's like you're not even giving each person on stage a whole dollar.
Right.
Like if you really start to look at like that math side of it, it's mind-boggling.
It's insane because right now, I don't know if you listen to that podcast, Your Favorite Band Sucks.
I haven't. I should. I didn't know about it.
They're kind of snarky. I listened to my first episode recently, but they were talking about this, where it's just like the entire industry is a scam top down, to the point where like some of these major quote unquote legendary venues have become like nothing more than movie theaters, where it's just like they make their money off the concessions. They're not even making the money from these Ticketmaster booked things or these Clear Channel booked things, and they charge the fees so much just to get a little bit, and then to keep the lights on, then the bands get none of it. And and now they were discussing like how Rolling Stone is starting to let native content, where like what is that word for advertising that's supposed to be, it's not advertising, but it was totally paid for. Like it was like a pay to play at, like Rolling Stone's doing that now. So like if the pinnacle of rock journalism is there,
it's done.
Where is the money? Like who has the money? And it's like, it's not just music. It's like everyone should be getting paid more. But like, I feel like the arts, it's almost like we've set up a societal expectation to be like, well, we're a music venue. We should be getting the bigger cuts so we can pay the talent. We're like, well, you guys don't really count. You know, like the whole industry, like from talent to venue to like, there's always like, it's like this weird middleman thing where it's, and this is, you know, this is where I'm going to start, you know, doing the whole DIY thing, where it's just like, as a self-managed person, it's like sometimes like a lot of that money is just, it's just getting robbed straight up from the people doing it by those middle managing, you know, suits, for lack of a better word, not to get like,
no, it's 100% true. And there's
the suits, man, but like it's the suits, man.
And there's no conversation, you know. It's like I know 100% that the promoters, booking agents, like that sort of middle ground of the music world, those people, I have friends in that world, and those people have not stopped working, right? And they have not stopped having meetings and figuring out how they're gonna really, you know, do stuff when things come back. And they are not, like, the booking agents side of things, they're not changing anything. They haven't changed a single thing, and they're still going to just try to get insane amounts of money. And they'll, like, you know, I mean, just the amount of, and it doesn't. So anyways, one of my friends was doing some of this stuff, you know, and I was like, so what are you guys doing all the time? And they were like, well, we're, you know, there's these panel discussions and all this stuff. And I just was like, has there ever been a musician, one single musician on any of these music, what happens with music after COVID panel discussions that everyone from every venue and all that stuff, you know, and frankly, like there was an Insane Johnny meme that came out a while ago that was like, venues in 2019, like, you know, quote, get your shit off stage. We've got a DJ in 20 minutes, whatever. Venues in 2020, you know, we're family.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, right? No, it's huge...
totally real. It's 100% real. The amount of times I've gotten kicked out of venues or not told that there was a show after, whatever, just all that shit. How horribly we all are treated. It's happened to everyone, you know, it's happened to no matter how famous you are. I've been on stage with famous people, and then that's happening to us right after. I've been on stage with, you know, my bands that no one's ever heard of, and that's happening. You know, there's no one's left behind there, you know, it's just whatever. And then for now, everyone be like, save our stages. And like, I don't really care if your place goes out of business. I don't care at all. I truly don't. And I don't have any, why should I? Like, what really, why should I? I mean, I've like the venue, I have a really dear friend of mine who owns a venue, and I don't want that place to go out of business. But mostly I don't want it to go out of business because that person's one of my oldest friends, and I don't want to see that person's financial life be destroyed. That's because I love my friends and my family. That's all.
It's a weird situation because it's like on one hand, you've been like kicked around and so many times by the industry, and as someone who works at venues, I totally feel both sides, because it's like on one end it's like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, because like the whole tech industry like needs work, and that's like a huge, like the people who set up the shows and tear them down and like move the equipment and move the monitor world and set up like back of house, front of house, all that stuff. Like I feel for that, because it's just like, well, there's a whole community of folks that's like not getting work, but at the same time, like I firmly believe the thing I have learned from being DIY is like this stuff is an ecosystem, and you can talk down on genre but like everything, like it's like a coral reef. Like if the DIY kids start disappearing, they're not going to come up to where you're at. And if these bars start disappearing, guess what? Clear Channel's going to stomp you into oblivion. So like we literally need to be treating this as like, no, like, all right, if we're family, let's be family then.
Right. Yeah. Oh man, 100%. I have been talking about that for years. Like you need the hugest show at the Excel as much as you need the tiniest DIY show in someone's in organ house or whatever. It's like you need, unless all of those things, it takes all of those things to make an actual music scene, and then, whatever. And so, it's just, it's really important. And I don't mean to like bag on venues, because of course, whatever. It's that thing where, for me, where it's like, look, you make the music, we create the content. Sorry to use that stupid word, but like a venue, not, a venue doesn't have, if they're selling our product, like they're just, there are like, of course there's a symbiotic thing happening, of course. Right. Kind of at the end of the day, sorry, in a real 2021 kind of attitude, like music's not stopping. No. Venues might stop. Venues might go out of business, whatever. Music is not stopping. And I will create music. I will play in my backyard. I will play on a hill over by the Mississippi River. We can bring a speaker and we can go down the street and the back of my friend's pickup truck, and we can play songs and people will be stoked. Yes. I was absolutely thinking this as well, just because like before this hit, and I still am like a guitar teacher and a music teacher. But like at the same time I was doing that, I was working at a venue and I was working at another school because I had to moonlight just to keep everything together. Yep. At one point, I was playing regularly in 5 different bands, and looking back now and assessing where my body is, assessing where my like mental and spiritual energy, for lack of a better term, is, I don't know if I want to go back. I was honestly getting to a point where it's like, wait, do I want my residency gig back? Like, it was a cool gig. I loved having it, but do I want it back? Like, can't I just point the camera at myself and be like, hey, you people follow me online for some reason, so like here's what I do, and that's it. And there's a and honestly, doing that and the few times this pandemic has gone out, like it's like I have been getting people, like that people put it in the tip jar at least. It's like support music. So I don't know. I don't know where it's gonna go. That's what I mean, man. You do. All this stuff's way above my pay grade. I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer on how to change it or make it better, but I know some steps that we could take. Well, the answer is some actual conversation. I mean, it's the same, not to go too crazy, but like it's the same reason that's like, Dante Wright gets killed. And then 10 minutes later, there's an army, throwing rubber bullets at people. Like no one even bothered to try to have a conversation. The governor. Why is there not a conversation? So, how do you how do you fix any broken system? Probably through a bunch of us getting together and communicating, and people are going to have to, all of us, myself included, I'm sure, are going to have to hear some hard things that we don't want to hear.
Yeah.
But the simple fact of the matter that I know is that people love music and need music, and they will pay. And if they have extra money, they will pay extra money. You know, I did a couple live streams right away in COVID, and I made more money at those gigs that were 20 minutes long in my studio, where I didn't have to carry my gear or drive anywhere. I made more money at those gigs than any gig I've played in the Twin Cities in the last 5 years.
Yeah. And it's crazy.
Cool gigs, you know, and I'm lucky enough to be, you know, involved in some things. You know, it's just like, oh, okay, so, but no, you tell me how the system works, though. Okay, great. You're wrong. You're totally wrong. People who have extra money, we've learned this in COVID. People who have more than enough, which there are a lot of people who have more than enough, and yes, some of them are awful. Seems to be that some of the people who have the most more than enough are some of the most awfulest, right? But what can I do about that? I don't know. But I do know that people who are in our community, who have seen you play, who have seen me play, who've seen Holly Hansen play, who've seen, you know, Kill the Vultures play, who've seen whatever, it doesn't matter. They will give you more money than you even asked for, right?
Yeah.
It has happened to me a number of times. I've had stuff I've had one dude just PayPal'd me some money one night, and wasn't even doing a live stream. And he said, well, I figure I see you play usually about 2 times a month, and it's been about 4 months. So here you go.
There you go.
Like, that's real. That's real. Those are people. Those are our neighbors, you know, like that's a real thing that exists.
I think that definitely is like really a metaphor for the larger problem at large, at large with like, because it's I read somewhere where it's just like if minimum wage kept up with productivity, it would be at $34.
Yep.
$34. If it kept up with Wall Street bonuses, $44. So it's and it's, when a lot of this stuff happened, you know, like especially when the Floyd murder happened, one of the things we did was like we just started a neighborhood watch. We just knocked on our doors and say, "Hey, I'm this person. I live here. Let's hang out." And then we just kind of started engaging with the community and like actually, you know, sometimes we would bake something for our neighbors, or sometimes there would be, you know, like it's just like, and then I started doing the same thing with gigs where it's like, or a Patreon or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then it just seems like I think we can be talking to each other a little bit more, and there could be a little bit more, because there's also like that cash liquidity thing where it's just like you pay some organization a bunch of money. More often than not, it just kind of sits there. Where if you give someone $50 on the street, that person will spend it at a hot dog vendor, and that makes change. And it's just like that $50 gets spent like 50 times, where this like one big check just kind of sits there. And full disclosure, like before like the comment section goes crazy, I'm fully aware I don't know what I'm talking about. Like I'm just trying to get off my chest.
When is there a voice for any of this? There's no voice for like a working music person. There isn't one. No. It doesn't exist. You think you hear about, you know, oh, the radio station did this or that, or okay, you know, or oh, the big venue that owns too many places did this, you know, like, okay, what about the people who are actually doing this stuff? There's no voice. No one's ever asked me about any of this stuff. I've been in the musicians union since I was 15 because my dad is a musician. I've worked in every kind of style of music. I've worked with all kinds of human beings. And no one ever asks me my opinion about any of this stuff. Like there is no, it doesn't exist. Seriously.
It's almost discouraged. It's almost discouraged.
Instead, it's people, you know, who are like, oh, I went to, you know, whatever. It, like, sorry, but like you just know, like on the ground experience is not represented in any part of our culture. It's like that's the same thing that's going on. It's like, the governor thinks that the governor and the hiding mayor think that that this is what should happen, is we should bring out the troops.
Yeah, because that clearly works so well.
And there's still just no voice for the no conversation, just no conversation. I don't know what, and I don't know the answers, of course. Duh, I'm just an idiot person who's good at the drums or whatever, and that's great. But what I do know is there's no conversation. I don't feel like I have a voice, and I do have a voice as an artist in this community or whatever. Like, I've been at it a long time, and I've had some notoriety, and I've busted out of here on a certain level, and with some things that I've done. But I've continued to curate music in the Twin Cities, and this place is bonkers how cool it is, But it's like,
so cool,
I would love a chance to say I stopped curating a series because it got too confusing and I couldn't pay people enough money. And I don't want to, and there's a conglomerate in town that makes it hard to put on other shows. That's just real.
Yeah.
But we don't get to talk about that. And that the radio station thing, they don't help anyone. They play someone's music a lot for a while. Then that person climbs a tiny little ladder that exists in our community, and maybe you sell out a couple of neat venues here, and then you're just done.
Yep.
There's no reach. There's nothing, and I'm personally just super duper sick and tired of it. I can't, I don't, for months of this, I was like, I'm not going to play it here anymore. I don't want to play here anymore. No one cares, Now I'm kind of back on the other side of that, but only because of the people. I feel the exact same way as I do about the Floyd murder and the Dante Wright murder and the cops and the mayor and all that stuff. That's how I feel like I am, that the musicians are just on the ground and no one's going to really actually listen to us. And that's why I'm like, oh, maybe I don't really care if your venue goes out of business.
It's a perfectly valid thing to feel, because and I know once everyone gets their shots, there might be a change of tune for once shows actually come back. But at the same token, if that's the case and these rooms are filled with vibrant, living, breathing people night in, night out, and that's what I hope to see.
Sure.
Where is that money going to be spread around equitably? Because I definitely played those bar gigs where it's just it's like you look at what was sold, and it's just like oh well, we're only going to give you 15% of and then the next time it's like, well, we agreed on 10. I don't understand why you're so miffed about the 8% that we're giving you. And it's just like, what? It's like talking to your dad, where it's just like, hey Dad, can I have $20? He's like, $15. What do you $10 for?
Yeah.
It's every single time.
And then it sits in that weird spot where it's like, unfortunately, I think it's a bit of a Midwestern, our weird Midwestern underlying thing of if you do speak up about that, then people are like, oh, look at this artist. They think they're cool,
Well, I think everyone should feel cool and think they're cool, but I also
do you know what I'm saying? I don't know if I said that correctly. I mean, if you speak up about it, you're supposed to just be like, oh, you just should be grateful for the fact that you get to play music or whatever. But it's like, yeah, but I'm trying to make this my job, and people who work at those places, I've literally said to people well, you don't go to work without knowing how much you're going to get paid. You wouldn't accept a job. It's just ridiculous. And if you were offered a job and the pay was bad, you would be like, what, but then it's like, you're just supposed to be like, oh dude, so cool, I got to play here or whatever. And then I lost $49 because I bought 2 drinks and whatever. It's happened to me, and I'll do it again. I'm not bailing. I'm not whatever. No,
I will be there again. I'll probably be working shows again. I'll probably, it's that's the thing.
Yeah, and I have there's been times where I have figured out how to make some money doing shows around here for sure too. I'm not saying it's not this isn't. I'm not coming from some. I don't want anyone who's listening also to think.
No.
You can't do this. That's not. but it's just
time
like,
to fix these problems. Why don't we try to? You know?
Can it be better? And is it attached to, like I said before, like people being proud enough to question things or say no? You know, it's like, it's a huge part of what's going on in our culture right now, all across the board. And it's important, and it has to do with self-worth and believing in yourself, and knowing that whatever it is that you have is worth something, and that you shouldn't accept, you know, less than that. You should, you know, and you know, and that also these things, you know, there's levels to it as well. You know, when I was 20, I was happy to play a gig for no money because I didn't know what I was doing. No,
right. It was cool to play the entry when you were 20. You're like, whoa, man, Nirvana played here.
Yeah, it's awesome, and it's exciting, and it should be. And I'm not taking that away from people. And but you know, but as it builds, like you should be able to be like, oh, maybe last time we had 50 people, so now, you know, hopefully we're gonna have more people. So then let's actually change the deal. And you know, that does happen on a certain level in the music business, but you need a manager, and you need you know, it's like that's the part that's just like, no, this is the stuff that the actual community could change by some conversation. It's like, I don't have a manager. I can't afford to give someone, you know, 5 to 12% of everything that I make. I wish I could, but because it'd be make my life a lot easier, but I can't do that. So I'm my manager. And so then, you know, I'm default manager for a lot of bands I'm in, because I'm tenacious enough to be like, well, why isn't this detail this or that, you know, whatever. It's just, and I just hope there's a conversation, and I hope people are thinking that their art has some real value. They're like I said, just proud enough to question something or say no, you know.
Absolutely. We're going to be back on the air in about 15 seconds. Let's do
what are you going to play next?
I just played Fat Kid Wednesdays, and we're going to play some Joe Pug because
oh, nice. Awesome.
I had a friend
you did a deep dive.
What? So we are back here on Desert Islands here. So I'm making a mixtape for JT Bates, and we just heard some new music. So your arrangement of Eastbound and Down, but we also heard some new music from Dosh. I threw some Alpha Consumer in there, and I wanted to make a point to play Fat Kid Wednesdays because I had never seen y'all's stuff on Spotify, and it's seriously, it's been one of my, like, I wish more jazz like that happened in the Twin Cities. It's just, I loved watching y'all play at the Artist Quarter. So yeah, I did the deep dive on that one, but I wanted to play some Joe Pug next, and we'll get to all of that. So here on Desert Islands, we were talking about the vinyl revival show that is of course tomorrow at 7 p.m. And so you mentioned you have some live things coming up, but I would be remiss if are there any dates, because this is a radio show, and if you have dates, we might as well be able to give them, so if people like what they hear, they can hear it again.
Yeah. Well, I am playing. So, well, I think I'm playing tonight. It's a kind of classic, but I was thinking, I think it's supposed to be outside, and that's why I'm a little bit not totally sure if it's
right.
It is. Yeah. There was definitely snow falling from the sky. Playing Grateful Dead music with the Built to Last All Stars with Chris Castino and Mark Joseph, and a bunch of friends at the Caboose. And then next week, I'm really excited. It was actually the last gig that I did before. The gig that I did, like on the break of this gig, we were at Ice House, and it was when the NBA they sent everyone home.
But
like that was on the break of this gig, and we were all just like, whoa, this is so real. Like, it was really, no one knew it to know what's pandemic. I don't know, maybe it's not coming here or something, whatever.
It was like a science fiction movie. It was like a bad one too. It was like M. Night Shyamalan, like the air is attacking us. Wait, what do we do about that?
No one knows, am I going to wear a hazmat suit for the rest of my life? And anyway, so this band that had kind of formed over the last year or so, we formed because we played a friend's wedding, actually, and so then we were like, well, we learned all these tunes, we should like play some gigs. So the band is called Pizza Coupon, and it's myself and Jeremy Elvasacker and Cody McKinney and Kevin Gastongue. And we are playing on the 29th at Ice House. We'll be playing outside in the courtyard on April, like, so next week, like whatever that is, Thursday next week, I think.
Nice. All right. That sounds great. I love Pizza Coupon is an excellent name.
Pretty good.
So if you like what you hear, you can hear it again there. Bring a mask. Make sure you have all your shots. Making a mixtape. Making a mixtape here for JT Bates on Desert Islands. It is actually 15 minutes to the top of the hour, so we're going to hear music from Joe Pug right here on KFAI.
Awesome.
I had a few friends. They used to play, not like on his records, but like on the East Coast. Like they would just gig with him a lot. With Joe Pug, and just like kind of like, oh, so when I saw more, you know, like when I see him coming here, he's like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like I don't know that guy, but like I know of that guy because my friends know that guy, and I had no idea that like you had this the connection with Joe.
Yeah, he came through. We used to do this show that Molly Mayer put together at the called the Real Phonic Radio Hour that we used to do at the.
That's right. Was that at the library?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and that's where I met Pug. She brought him through because Molly just, you know, those, well, and Eric Koskinen too. They were the kind of main.
Oh yeah.
You know, as far as just trying to find people to come who would be on tour and that could come through, and so I didn't know Joe or his music before that personally.
Me neither. I only had friends when he comes through Philly. I had a few friends would open for him because he's based on the East Coast somewhere. It escapes me. Now people are gonna kill me in the comments.
He's from the Baltimore area originally, and then he lived in Austin, Texas for a long time, and he moved back to up by Baltimore.
Yeah.
Geez, maybe 5 or 6 years ago now. I think like when Austin started to get really overrun, he got out of there.
It's crazy how much Austin has grown. Because like it's one of those things where I remember going as a teenager and I was like, oh, like Austin's really cool, and it's just like totally different, totally like it got big so fast, and it's not that big of a city, and I don't mean big and like, oh man, that city's gonna make it. No, I mean like it's like it was physically just bursting at the seams, and like crazy. There's like I don't think the infrastructure was built to have that many Silicon Valley bros descend on the.
Definitely not. Yeah, no, I know. I was really glad when, like, I don't know when the last South by I ever played at was that one where someone drove a freaking car into like a crowd of people. Oh, just horrifying, you know. And so then I was just like, okay. And then I heard that they kind of actually started, it's like trying to scale it back a little bit, or like get some control over it, like stop the sort of, like, I don't know how many of those you ever did, but like they would do these day parties where like drinks were just free. Like it would be like, oh, you know, whatever hipster magazine is hosting a day party, and then like there's a cool band playing, and it's real elitist. Like you have to get the right wristband to get in or whatever. But if you do, then it's like free drinks for the whole day. Not like, okay, you know, whatever. And so
not like 2 drink tickets. It's just like you know.
Yeah. So just got really out of hand, and people just like really, you know, like I heard stuff about like the city itself just being like, you know, even just dealing with like the amount of like drunken disorderlies and like the passing out of people. You know, it's just like, it's just dangerous. You know, it's just like completely out of control.
It's also really hot down there, and then you get a lot of you get a lot of tourist traffic of people who have never been to Austin who treat it like Sundance, where it's like, oh, we'll go to South by Southwest, and it's just like it's I don't want to say debaucherous because like it's not like it's bedlam, but it's a little much. It's like
it's like, yeah, I mean, we used to joke about it too, because from here it's like, you know, there'd just be this caravan of white vans from Minneapolis driving all the way down 35, and it's March, you know, so it's like we've all just been, you know, in 10 layers and all this stuff, and then you go down there and it's like you have 2 beers outside and you get totally sunburned, and you get like, you know, all these Minnesota people, you get heat stroke, and you know, it's just like, oh man, there's an
entire industry too on selling fans and bands on the sub party scene. Like there's the unofficial parties, and then there's the unofficial parties. There's like DIY fests that just like go adjunct. Like they just throw the festival in the city at the same time, and then like if you're in a band, if you have like one showcase, you can like bolster your scenario by playing all these unofficial things, and then you're like at like a it's just I a lot of those things I don't really see the point anymore. Like it's just like like that website, The Hard Times, had that thing where it's just like the top brands to check out at South by Southwest. Like,
exactly.
It kind of seems like they don't like it. Like, is Elon Musk going to perform at South by this year?
Totally.
Like that's kind of how I feel like it's going. You know?
Yeah, I have some friends who though. So this since I have been blessed enough to not have to go to it. Some friends of mine, like 2 years later, were out touring with like sort of a fancy person or whatever, and they sent me some pictures, and because they were playing the Doritos stage, and there was literally just like in the green room tent thing, there was like it's like hundreds of those little like the tiniest little bags, you know, of Cool Ranch Doritos or whatever, you know, just like I don't know, just like what it's just like what is
how much plastic went into that? How much Mylar and why? You know, like especially since I don't know if any of y'all have been to Austin. Some of the best tacos I've ever had in my life. The best, like just get a local place to curate and like give them the whole thing. Like I don't have many friends who live there now, but I remember would like message the first year she lived there. She's like, I'm so psyched for South by Southwest. And then I message her like, hey, are you going to be there? Like, no, I leave town for that. I don't stay when that happens. And I completely get it. Cause it's like, well, I mean, like at this point, the Midwest has been trying to make their own version of that. Like, like Art-A-Whirl is becoming a beast that cannot be fed. I only say, look, I'm not knocking Art-A-Whirl. I play it every year. It's great. I love it. But at some point, it became weird when it's just like, yo, why am I paying for the wristband? Like, where is this money going? Is this going to the gallery? Because I got to be honest, I kept playing those weirdo gallery gigs like on principle of just like, no, this is supposed to be foot traffic for the people who make pottery and physical things. Like they put like, you know, it's like it's
not like, just for a bar to have a party in their parking lot.
Yeah, craft beer is cool, but it's not everything. Oh, stand by.
Yep.
All right, let's back announce that set. We heard Joe Pug, and then we heard some Bon Iver, Salem right there. Okay, so here is where we're at. We are dangerously to the top of the hour, and I talk a lot. It's okay here on Desert Islands. I let the whole thing get away from me, but today I'm making a mixtape for JT Bates, and I'm definitely not going to have time to play it all. That is fine. Check the Spotify list, and you can look on what tracks we didn't have time to get to. But yeah, I'm here talking with JT Bates, and JT is always, of course, busy. The reason for the season is the good people at Miniculture wanted to set up an episode to talk about the vinyl revival at the Hennepin County Library. That is tomorrow. So if you're just tuning in, we want to make sure you hear that plug again. That is happening tomorrow, this Thursday night at 7 p.m. And
yeah,
JT
and I think
be talking
I
about
think that's also. I know next week, amazing improviser from here, Milo Fine, is doing the vinyl revival, and then I do believe it's like, I don't know if it's absolutely weekly, but there's many occurrences of this thing on Thursday nights. And so it's definitely worth checking out. I know there's been some really cool stuff, and they play the record and they talk, it's a conversation about the records or about that artist, and there's, people just sharing different parts of what it means to them, and it's just a really cool program. And like I said earlier, way earlier on the show, like the Hennepin County Library vinyl collection was a huge part of my upbringing, and so it's really special for me to be able to be a part of it. And also, honestly, I didn't really know about the program, so now I've actually been kind of keyed more in on it and seeing what's going on. There's some really cool stuff coming up. So.
And it's really cool. The Hennepin County Library is really supportive of local artists too. Like I haven't seen many library systems go out of their way to put local artists into their library's rotation.
Yep.
And of course, Minspin has become more of a virtual thing in the pandemic. But I think it's really cool that one, the library is still enriching their catalog every year rather than letting it stagnate and just like, oh well, we might have to get rid of this. It's like, no, they add to it and they make sure local artists are within the system as well. It's a really cool program, and it's awesome that you're doing it. It's also awesome that you came on the show. Always love hearing what you're up to do. So thanks for joining us and taking the time.
Have me. I'll come back anytime. This is so fun. So.
Of course, yeah. Come out and chat. All right, so we have like 5 minutes left.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna get into some Andrew Bird. I have to make sure Democracy Now! Starts on time. That is that is a much bigger deal. So JT, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Doc.
Here's some Andrew Bird here on Desert Islands. Yeah, it's a. I got 5 minutes. I was making sure I didn't have another cart, because sometimes that happens where it's just like, okay, that was cool. Oh, I was supposed to play that 20 minutes ago. That's not good. Someone's definitely going to yell at me for that.
Well, this is so fun. I really enjoy talking to you. It's really awesome.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed talking to you as well. And I always love because like, I feel like, you do end up on so many records that, like, as a broadcaster that plays a lot of local music or regional, like, you do end up on, it's like, man, JT's on this too. It's always stuff I'm like, I'm digging, and I'm actually like, I'd want to sink my teeth into. So I appreciate taking the time. And because sometimes these things are just, like radio shows are always. I appreciate. Here's the one thing I actually like about the pandemic. I first hated the Zoom thing, but now I realize people don't have to find parking. People don't have to get that validated. People don't have to because there's an other time constraint of like getting to the thing and getting back there. And as fun as it was to just kind of like, the whole show was just like, we'll just spin records and we'll talk in between sections. And now that it's on video, it's a different beast, but it's actually kind of nice. Because sometimes we had someone, when Nick Costa moved to the West Coast, like, it's just like, okay, you can just do it from LA. You can do it for Molly Mayer actually was on her way up north. She did it from her car. So it is kind of cool.
So awesome.
I will concede that the technology in that regard is actually kind of helpful and not Orwellian.
It's cool. I like it. Yeah.
A lot of this stuff
is, like I said, like, honestly, if you ever just are like, well, I don't know what we're doing tomorrow, like, I would love to come and blabber some more. It's really fun.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I'll give you a shout.
And I did send that. I did send I know it's kind of way too late for this, but if just in case you were just curious, I did send you my little list of records. Nice. I sent it to that email thread that we had. So
right,
whatever. If you just wanted to see.
Maybe I'll add to the mixtape later. Of course. Well, I mean, today I got to make sure today I got to make sure about lessons, because that's like a weird thing. Like virtual interviews, we're also doing virtual recitals.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's just it's one of those things. Like as an educator, like I'm really trying to be like, no, we're gonna sell it. I kind of have to be genuine and be like, I know it's a little weird, but you're going to do great. Like, yeah. I even, like, no, it's totally weird, dude. It's totally weird, but it's fine. Totally. I get it. It's not like we're going to broadcast you in Times Square. And if you want it, maybe record it and you can send the link everywhere. But, like, I don't know. I'm not going to miss that aspect of the pandemic.
Yeah, no, that's got to be, yeah.
It's like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time you have. We got about 2 minutes here. So I'm going to let you go and make sure I can get all these robots to work with me to get things on time. Yep. It was great talking with you, JT. Seriously, good to see you. And, love the stuff. And hopefully we can see each other in person, or at least I'm sure I will see you drumming somewhere this summer.
Yeah, I would love that, man. Thanks again, and it's so fun. Great to talk.
Absolutely. All right.